Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of fucking crying. Welcome back to my channel. You know who it is. It's Takari Christopher Coles, aka T Christopher Coles, aka TK. You can just call me Ty. It's perfectly fine. Listen, let's just hop right into it, guys. Who here personally feels victimized by the 2020s? Like, damn, can you get off our necks, please? Shit! I don't know what it is. That whole thing about grief coming in threes is a very real thing. And you normally hear our older folks say that phrase. But because we are now getting older and becoming those older folks, we're starting to see it more and more now. Case in point, this video was supposed to be about the future of the Black Panther character and the absence of our late Chadwick Boseman, another one of the great stars that was taken in the 2020s. Damn 2020s. But we need to do a little segue here, because since shooting the first one, we have had three entertainment pillars that have gone on to glory very suddenly. Two, understandably, because of older age. But one, very, very suddenly. And if you don't know, I am talking about the Betty White, the Sidney Poitier, and the Bob Saget. Now, a lot of people want to count Betty White's passing in 2021. But this was right on the cusp of New Year's Eve and days before her 100th birthday. So, I don't care what anybody says, she made it to her 100th birthday. I'm saying it here and now. You've heard it some other places, but I'm saying it here. She made it to her 100th birthday. And if you can't reconcile with that, let's just pretend she lied about her age and she was already 100. She made it to 100 years old. Okay? Okay.
Live with it.
She was just funny as hell. She was just adorable. Like, you know, there were a lot of moments she could have been, well, a lot of moments where she was crass. But that was her brand. She was wonderful. She's that grandmother that can give you all the sound advice on the planet, tell you to just forget the world, do what you gotta do what feels right for you, but say some of the most outlandish things on the planet. Reminds me of my own grandparents, you know? A lot of people talk about one of her stories from back in the day where she was hosting, it was a black artist that was brought on to the show. And some of the executives of the show and the audience members were perturbed because it was a black artist, and she said, I don't care, let him perform. Hey, you're about to go over your time, forget it, deal with it. She was that kind of person. She didn't care what kind of person you were. You were talented, you were great, you were a kind person. As long as those things were at the forefront, she respected you, and you for damn sure respected her, just because of how wonderful she was. I'm sure her and all of the Golden Girls that have all passed before her, I know they're all up there having a beautiful time, having a good kiki, and just talking about this world, all of the wonders of this world, and all of the mess of this world, child. I know they up there having a good time.
Oh, isn't this wonderful? We're all back together again. Group hug, everybody.
And then a mere days after that, Sidney Poitier passes away. And like I said, these two legends, yes, they were older, but these were still huge pillars in the entertainment industry. Both of them have been around for decades, almost a full century. And they are both beloved by all ethnicities. I think that's the most interesting part about it too. Betty White was everybody's favorite grandma, whether you are black, white, Latino, Asian, it didn't matter. Everybody loved Betty White. The same goes for Sidney Poitier. I can't think of anybody on the planet who could say anything negative about Betty White or Sidney Poitier. Especially after reading the man's book, Measure of a Man. And he has 3 different novels, but this was one of the ones that I actually grew up with. My father bought this copy, and I don't know what I did, I don't know what happened when I was younger, but for some reason I may have been in trouble, or he just felt like I was doing too much in the house. So he gave me an assignment to do. But it was one of the best decisions that he ever did, because I read the book cover to cover. And I had to have been, this book came out in 2000. Yet The Measure of a Man, a spiritual autobiography, copywritten in 2000. This was in 2000. So I was very young when I read this book. Among the many books that my dad got me, this was one of the ones that I read when I was younger, and I didn't necessarily write up a book report or anything like that, but we sat down and we talked about it, and it was wonderful listening to some of his experiences. And one of the chief things that a lot of people talk about regarding Sidney Poitier is that when he was working back then, there were a lot of times he was the only black person that was in the room. He was the only black artist in the room, and that was with both the cast and the crew. And I found that astounding. Even with me being that young and having an interest in film and television, that was something I never quite thought about. I see it now as I get older, because you can look at a number of films and see that there's, one black character or maybe two or three, but they're not the main characters. They're a part of the ensemble. They're the supporting characters. But this was one of Hollywood's first prominent black leading men. And I gotta tell you, one of my favorite films of his is Let's Do It Again. He's had a number of other ones, as we know, Lilies of the Field, which he got his first Oscar for, and he was the first African-American male to win the Best Actor Oscar for a leading role. I've seen Raisin in the Sun, one of his best pieces of work. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? To Sir with Love. I remember seeing that one a lot in school. I remember being introduced to that film the first time in school, and I kept asking my teacher if we can see it again. It's one of my favorite in the category of films where the teacher has a hard time with the class, and over time that teacher starts to get the students' respect to the point where they are revered and just loved and adored. It's one of the first movies that I've seen like that, and it was wonderful that the lead character was a black man. He was a dark-skinned, commanding black man, and that was wonderful to see. And to be quite honest with you, when I heard of his passing, of all the people who have admired him, revered him, adored him, looked up to him because of the kind of person he was, not just as an actor, but the kind of human being that he was. We think of Oprah Winfrey, we think of Viola Davis, we think of all of the very powerful, prominent black entertainers of this world that loved him dearly, but the immediate person I thought of was Denzel Washington. Because if you look at a lot of Denzel's interviews back in the day, he talks about Sidney Poitier in a very beautiful fashion, just having that kind of love for someone who came before you in the same field that you're trying to go into. It's very much the same respect I have for John Singleton, Spike Lee, Tim Story, Tyler Perry. These pillars of people that you look up to, these very stoic people. Denzel had the wonderful fortune of knowing this man and becoming really good friends with him, and I'm sure having beautiful conversations just about life, not just about the industry as a whole, but about life. And I think I immediately thought of him on two aspects. One, the fact that he just lost one of his mentors and great friends, and 2 years ago he lost one of the people who looked up to him, and that was Chadwick Boseman. To be the person in the middle of that, where you've lost someone that has mentored you and you've looked up to them for a vast chunk of your career, and you've also lost someone who's looked up to you within the works that you've done in your career, that has to be hard. That's where my head went when we think about the people who have been influenced by him in that way. And one of the beautiful aspects about Sidney Poitier that showcased the kind of man that he was, the kind of artist that he was, he made sure that he did not take any role lightly. If he wanted to do the film because he thought it was a profound role, he would do it. If he thought it was a role that was going to be funny, he would take that role. But if it was a role that didn't serve him, if it did not serve the overall look of us as black people, he didn't take it. it was something that he left for someone else. And I'm sure someone else picked up the roles that he let go of. But for him, it was a personal thing to not do that. And looking back at Denzel Washington's career, especially up until now with his role in Macbeth, he does not take on any roles that don't scare him. He doesn't take on any roles that he feel isn't worthwhile or fun or just overall inspiring to him. And when you look back at what Chadwick Boseman has done with the short time frame that he had with his career, God rest his soul, he was the same way with his roles. And it's just this level of integrity that I'm seeing through all three of these generations of actors. And because of how beautiful it is to see, it's sad to see them pass on. But I would hope that the actors of this generation and the generation before us and the generation before them who are still here and still prominent in Hollywood, they continue that path of not going after certain roles if it doesn't serve who they are as a person, it doesn't serve who they are as an artist, and it doesn't serve the overall look that they want to give to our black people, to the rest of the world. I sincerely wanted to meet Sidney Poitier. I have a speech that I wrote back in high school, as if, you know, maybe it was me manifesting, but me getting an Oscar for a film I worked on. Right now it's debatable what position or what role I would be getting an Oscar for. But, you know, it was originally written that, you know, I was sitting in between both Sidney Poitier and Halle Berry. And I think at the time it was fresh off of seeing Halle Berry's historic win and then seeing Denzel Washington's win. And the same night that he won, they were honoring Sidney Poitier the same night. And for all of them to be there and just this historic moment, for all of them getting their awards and all of them getting their recognition as they should have, I think at the time it really inspired me. And I wrote something out. I can't find it at the present moment, but I know it's around here somewhere. But, you know, it sucks. It's one of the feelings that I had when I heard that Chadwick Boseman passed away. Just this thinking that you have time and that you'll meet these people one day and you'll have the honor of knowing these people one day, and, you know, it just falling through because God had other plans.
My love and my thanks to my wonderful, wonderful wife, my children, my grandchildren, my agent and friend Martin Baum, and finally to those audience members around the world who have placed their trust in my judgment as an actor and filmmaker, I thank each of you for your support through the years. Thank you.
God is up there laughing just a little bit harder because we just lost Bob Saget. And, you know, he falls into the category of the chief American dads that we've seen on television. He's up there with Bill Cosby. He's up there with George Lopez. He's up there with the dads from Family Matters and Family Ties and all these different shows. And that's primarily what I know him from. But of course, everybody else knows him from America's Funniest Home Videos. And he was the host of that for a good number of years. It was weird seeing him on that show and then seeing him on Full House, because he was almost two different characters. He wasn't as funny to me on Full House, but he was a very funny host with America's Funniest Home Videos. And listening to the interviews of everybody who knew him, and looking at the posts of everyone on Instagram and Facebook who have been commenting since he passed, everybody has said that he was one of the funniest people that you could meet. For every situation possible, he had a dirty joke for it. But he had the kindest heart that made you want to laugh, regardless of it being an awful or downright disrespectful joke. But he had the kind of heart that made you love him anyway.
I don't remember. I was all on Comtrex. After 8 years with them, in a house with two men, they were my second family. The last show shed a tear, then Stamos grabbed at my rear, and Uncle Jesse was inside of me. Sorry, he likes that lyric. He's up. Sometimes the show wasn't that funny, but you made lots of money. Yeah, good values.
As of the 23rd, we have had 6 major celebrity deaths that have happened. Granted, I know we've had a number of people who have passed in between time who aren't as famous. I totally understand that, and anyone watching this, please don't feel disregarded because I didn't name those folks. We have lost Betty White, Sidney Poitier, Bob Saget, and then on the 18th of January, we lost fashion icon, fashion journalist, stylist, creative director, and editor-at-large of Vogue magazine, Andre Leon Talley. And from what we can tell from the news and the tabloids, it was due to COVID-related symptoms. Then the next day, January 19th, the fashion and the fragrance world lost another star, French actor Gaspard Ulliel, who, as far as we know, his last performance was in Marvel Studios' Moon Knight, a new Disney Plus series that's supposed to be premiering in March. He passed away during a tragic ski accident. He was only 37 years old. And then the 23rd, Regina King has lost her son, 26-year-old musician Ian Alexander Jr. This young man passed away after committing suicide, days after his 26th birthday. Y'all, this one for Ian, it hit different. She talks about him so much in the interviews, to the point where we learned the details she had him at 24 years old. That hit me hard because that's the same age my mother had me. And I'm 27 going on 28 next month. The fact that this boy took his own life after his 26th birthday. Every time you hear stories like this of whether it's famous people or just people that you knew in your community, it hits hard because you wonder what were they going through that made them feel that they needed to, as my guy Tyrone Magnus says, do self-deletion. I'm no stranger to this life getting hard. When you hear stuff like this, it really just makes you go, what were they feeling that made them turn to that alternative? To feel like this needed to be the stopping point of their life, and that nothing else was going to get better, nothing else was going to change, nothing else was going to get fixed, you know? And of course, when you take this all into consideration, and the fact that I listed so many people that have just passed, and whether it was of old age, whether it was of sickness, whether it was of self-deletion, it doesn't matter the circumstances. It's the fact that someone passed, and these people were beloved by so many people in the world, not just their own family and friends, but people at large loved them. And please understand, I know that fame isn't all it's cracked up to be. We hear that on a daily basis from a number of people who are currently going through the struggles of being famous and being so recognizable and feeling like the world has their entire spotlight and eyes on you. I know everything isn't as it's cracked up to be, but Ian's passing, that hits different. His mom was so much his cheerleader, you know. And I think of my parents, you know, how much they've been cheering me on and fighting for me while I've been here in Atlanta, and just all my life, but specifically right now, just going through this hardship where I'm an adult now. And I almost wonder, was he going through something similar? Was he going through that thought process of just like, I'm a grown man now and I need to be able to stand on my own and be able to get what I need from my life, from my career. And, you know, we didn't really get the vibe that he, you know, may have felt in the shadow of his mom. That was never the vibe whenever we saw him in the public setting. You know, that was never the vibe you saw when he was on social media. So I'm curious what he was going through mentally that made him feel he needed to shorten his time on this earth. Regardless, these are all questions that we're not going to get answered at the moment. And of course, as the King family have asked, we respect them in their privacy. And just my heavy condolences for them. It's such an intricate circumstance because, yes, in a very selfish way, it makes you think of your own life. It makes you think of the longevity of your own life and what impact you're going to have in the time frame that you're here. I know not everybody has a multitude of people to love them, to see them through what they've gone through in their lives. But if you can get at least one person to hear you out, to be by your side, to help you get through this, you'll never be alone. We know that death is inevitable for each of us. The only true things that matter when that time comes is what legacy have you left behind, and do you have the beautiful fortune of having people who love you, who can see you through until the end. It's really wild that the damn year just started and this is what we've got. And of course we don't need to talk about 2021 or 2020, the multitude of people that we've lost since then. Is this like a lesson decade, Lord? I really want to know. If it is, the lesson that's blaringly loud is that life is too damn short. Life is too fragile for you to not, one, be out here doing what you love, and two, really diving into the various loves of your life. Be it people, be it your job, be it your circumstances, be it just the fact that you're alive. Rest in peace to all the folks that we've lost so far in 2022.